Hey guys, welcome to another episode of Vinyl Den, your channel for record collecting by record collectors. I'm Nick. Today I'm doing my Vinyl Tag 2024. There's a bunch of links down below. Make sure you check them out. There's links for the Vinyl Den Facebook group, for the merch page, for the Spotify and Apple Music playlist that I put together every week, and the Patreon page. Make sure you go check all that out. Of course, if you enjoyed the episode, make sure you give me a thumbs up. Hit that subscribe button down below. Make sure you hit that notification bell so you're notified every time I release new episodes. So I've been doing these vinyl tag videos over the last couple of years, and I always have fun with them. It's always fun to put these lists together and watch everyone else's videos and see what kind of albums they pull out and put together for the list. So these are all questions that I got from Rob Walker from Let the Music Play. It's 20 questions. I'll go over them 1 through 20. There's one or two that I don't really have albums for, but I guess I'll kind of talk a little bit about it once I get there. So, number one, favorite record you purchased in 2023. I kind of read this maybe a little bit differently. Maybe not like my favorite album. I decided to go with my favorite pressing of an album from 2023. The album is MXPX Find a Way Home. This came out last August. This pressing in particular is kind of cool, though, because this is really limited. There's only 150 of these pressed. And I did a whole video on this album once after it was released. And this is glow-in-the-dark vinyl with sand inside the record. It's probably hard to see on my camera there, but I did a whole video on it if you go back and check out the channel. But Find a Way Home by MXPX. I guess before I get too far into the video, I'll drop a link down below if you want to go check out Rob's channel. Go check out the video he put together for the original list for this year. So question number 2 is, what was the last record you bought in 2023? I went out, I think it was literally the 29th of December, ran out to the record store, grabbed this record. This is Fat Mike Gets Strung Out. This is a really interesting album because this is, so if you're familiar with NoFX, they're a punk band, been around since the late part of the 80s. This is all string versions of NoFX songs. So like I said, really interesting to kind of sit down and listen to. I think Fat Mike said it in an interview. He wanted to do an album you can almost put on during a dinner party. That kind of music. It's really, like I said, really interesting to sit down and listen to this one. So number 3 is a band or singer who released 2 more albums in the same year. There's a bunch of great ones I could have went with. I decided to go with a very recent one. These are both 2 albums from last year, both by the band Rival Sons. You've got Dark Fighter and then Lightbringer. Both of them are great albums. I actually had Dark Fighter I had in my honorable mentions for last year, and then Lightbringer I actually had as one of my top 10 albums. Both of them are fantastic. If you're not familiar with Rival Sons, they're a band I highly recommend checking out. And then number 4 is, if you could only listen to music from one decade, which decade would you choose? This was a really hard one for me because I love music from every single decade. Some really great 70s stuff. I'm not a huge fan of 60s music. It really came down to the 70s or the 90s for me. I was a teen in the 90s. I guess maybe I'll give it the tiebreaker there and say I probably love maybe a little bit more music. I think the 90s was such a diverse decade with not just rock music, but you've got grunge and punk and R&B and country. There's some great country music in the 90s. I'm not a big country fan. Like I said, so many different genres had so many great albums in the 90s. Almost every week, another classic album was getting released. Number 5 is show a record by a band or singer from Manchester. I had a hard time with this one because I think there's only one that I can go with, and that's Oasis. I don't think I have music from any other artist from Manchester, so I decided to go with What's the Story, Morning Glory. I love this album ever since it was first released, and this album in particular was kind of interesting because I bought this. This is several years ago I bought this album, and then for some reason I didn't listen to it right away. I didn't even pull it out of the sleeve. I think it just cut the shrink wrap off of it. And then it was probably 6 months later I finally sat down to listen to it, and it was missing disc 1 in here. So I went to one of my local record stores, went and talked to the store owner and said, "Look, I don't know when I bought this. I'm pretty sure I bought it at his store, but I wasn't even 100% sure I bought it at his store." He said, "Don't worry about it. I'll take care of it." He walked over, grabbed a new copy off the counter and or out of the bin, cut it open, made sure it was right, and set me straight with it. So it's one of the reasons why I love some of my local record stores, because they really take care of their customers, and just a great album also. So number 6 is, which band or singer did you listen to the most in 2023? I've got no clue. It's a toss up for me. It's down to probably, maybe Blink-182, Post Malone, MXPX, probably my top 3 for last year. I decided to go with Blink-182 with this one just because I think they're my number one band for last year, just because Tom Long was rejoining the band. They had a new album coming out. I was really anticipating that release. I had this thing on pre-order for a year before the album came out. I went and saw them in concert last year. So I'm guessing is probably my number one for last year. Number 7 is Show 7 7-inch records. I'm not a big fan of 7-inch records just because I'm kind of lazy when it comes to my music listening. I don't want to have to flip an album after every single song. So I'm going to kind of cheat with this one. I'm going to go with, this is a 7-inch box set of Less Than Jake's classic album, Hello Rock View. I picked this up quite a few years ago. It's pretty cheap. I probably paid 20 or 25 bucks for it. It goes for quite a bit now since then. But what this says is it's the entire album broken up into 7-inch albums. So I thought that was kind of fitting for this question. Number 8 is Who's Coming to Your Party? Choose 4 music-related people to come to an imaginary dinner party, past or present. Who would you invite? This is what I thought about for a long time. I decided to go with just kind of random, people that I would love to have a conversation with. I decided to go with John Lennon, Jim Morrison, Joey Ramone, and Ozzy Osbourne, but it had to be like early 80s Ozzy, so I think it'd be kind of interesting to sit down and have a conversation with those 4. It just sounds like it'd be a fun night. Number 9 is We Lost Them. Choose 1 musician who passed in 2023. This is another one where I could have went a bunch of different directions. I decided to go with Steve Harwell from Smash Mouth. Just a great musician, man. He had a bunch of demons, over the course of his life that kind of caught up with him. I know he lost a child in the early part of the 2000s. I think that had something to do with his drinking problems, and it's really unfortunate. I've got friends, that have had addiction problems over the years, and just sad to see someone's life end that way. So number 10 was actually a pretty easy one for me. Number 10 is imagine you can only listen to music from one country. Which country would you choose? Hands down, the U.S. I think the U.S. has the best music, at least over the last, 30, 40 years. There's so many great bands that have come out of, other countries also. But, I think that there's enough music that comes out of the U.S. If I could only listen to music from one country, I'd be satisfied just listening to music from here. Number 11 is name 3 vinyl community channels you discovered in 2023. This was kind of a hard one because there's a bunch of great ones out there that I've discovered this year. I decided to go with MGK Boston. A bunch of great stuff on his channel, a lot of great content. I've really been enjoying his channel. It's probably within the last maybe month or 2 that I've really got into his channel. And then 2 people from the Vinyl Den Facebook group. You got Angel's Vinyl Planet and the Inner Sleeve. Even though I think Daryl from the Inner Sleeve started his channel a little over a year ago, I'm going to cheat and pick his. I'll put links down below if you want to go check out all 3 of those channels. So number 12 is show a record you bought when you were a teenager. Unfortunately, I don't have any records left that I bought when I was a teenager. When I moved out of my parents' house in 99, and they moved a couple years after that, they got rid of all my records. So unfortunately, I don't have anything left over that I actually bought when I was a teen. But that album I have, I guess has a lot of meaning to me. The album is Down on the Upside by Soundgarden. This is an album this album came out in 1996. So I didn't buy my first CD until I think it was like summer of 97. It was like right after I graduated high school was the first time I bought a CD. Before then, it was all records and cassettes. Pretty much all the new stuff I was buying was on cassette. I did have a flea market in my area, had a great record selection, so I was still buying records up until that point. But this and Harvest by Neil Young were the first 2 CDs I ever bought, so it's why I decided to pick this one. Number 13 was something I didn't have an album for it. So number 13 is show a funk or soul record. I don't have any, so I decided to. I've streamed this one a bunch of times, but I picked Curtis Mayfield, the soundtrack for Superfly. It's a great soundtrack. It actually was. I think it was a Rhino Start Your Ear Off Right, or maybe it was a Rhino Rocktober release within the last year. I think it was sometime last year that came out. I almost bought it. I picked it up in the store, decided to put it back down and grab something different, but I guess I'll pick that one for number 13. Number 14 is show a record you think everyone has, then a record you think nobody has. For my pick for something that everybody has, and if you don't have a copy of it, I'm sure I probably have enough copies for everyone. And that is Pink Floyd's classic album, Dark Side of the Moon. My wife and my friends always make fun of me for how many copies of this album I have. I'm ashamed to say it's I think it's over a dozen copies of this album. But anyway, it's an absolute classic. I love this album. What else can you say about it other than it's one that probably everyone has. At least most people probably have that one. So, and then one for one that nobody has, I could have went with that MXPX Nova pressing, because I think that's actually the most limited album that I have. But I didn't want to pick that one for a second time, so I decided to go with Spring Heel Jack, Songs from Suburbia. This was a pretty limited album when this was released. This album came out, I think it was 97, 98 when this album came out. Didn't get pressed on vinyl until I think 2015 or 2016. It was super limited. I think it was less than 500 copies that got pressed. It took me a long time to track down this one. I actually did a whole YouTube video about my journey to find this album, but it is a great album. Number 15 is She's Great, a record by a female artist you bought in 2023. I bought a bunch of albums by female artists last year. Some really great ones. I decided to go with one that I was really surprised by. I even talked about it when I did my best albums of 2023 video, and that is Rockstar by Dolly Parton. This is a great album, man, and this is one I was really surprised by because, it's mostly a covers album by Dolly Parton. I didn't really know how she was going to do with doing the covers on this one, and like I said, from beginning to end, there's some misses on here. But for the most part, man, she absolutely hits it out of the park with these. She does a version of Purple Rain on here is unbelievable. If you're going to stream anything off this album, at least stream that one song and check it out. But I highly recommend this album. So number 16 is another two-parter. It is the favorite video you posted on your channel in 2023, and then a favorite video you watched from the vinyl community in 2023. I think my favorite video from last year that I posted is it was a Sunday video I did with Ian. We did our most overrated albums of the 70s. The reason why it's my favorite is, for the most part, we try to stay pretty positive on this channel. It was one video where we decided to throw that to the side and get kind of negative about some albums that we think are slightly overrated. I don't think we were really too nasty about any of the albums in that video, but it was fun to do. We got some really fun comments back and forth, some good conversation going in the chat section or a comment section on that video. But it was really fun to do, fun to put out. Yeah, I think we did a couple more similar videos like that after that, but that's probably my favorite from last year. And then one my favorite that I watched from the vinyl community is a video. It's U2 at the Sphere in Las Vegas on NTX vinyl. Man, the Sphere looks like a great place. I've seen a bunch of videos on that concert, or the concerts that U2 did there. His was the best. I highly recommend it. I'll put a link down below if you want to check out his video. So 17 is a question I try to put a little more thought into, and maybe not go the most obvious route with, but 17 is show a record you describe as a 90s classic. Of course, I could have went with Nevermind or 10 or Dookie is another great one I could have picked, but I decided to go with, there's so many great punk albums that were released in the 90s. And the album I decided to go with, I think it's kind of flown under the radar. It is a great album. I think it's probably the second greatest punk album ever released. One I still love and listen to pretty regularly. That is Destruction by Definition by the Suicide Machines. Suicide Machines are a southeastern Michigan punk band. Done a lot of great stuff over the career. Actually, this one just got reissued by Asbestos Records. But I think for the longest time I've considered And Out Come the Wolves by Rancid the greatest punk album ever released. Destruction by Definition is a very, very close second. I absolutely love this one. So question 18 was kind of a hard one for me. I went back and forth between a couple of albums, and then when I found my pick for this one, it seemed like the obvious one for me. But anyway, question number 18 is if you could walk into a cover, look through your collection, and choose a record cover you'd like to be part of. And like I said, there's probably maybe 4 or 5 albums I was kind of going back and forth with. And then I saw this bootleg in my record collection, and it was the obvious choice for me. So the bootleg it's a Green Day bootleg. The title of it is Live in Chicago, November 10th, 1994. That is actually incorrect. This record here is actually from November 18th, 94. Ended up being the Jaded in Chicago broadcast that was on MTV in 1995. It's a great show. It's a great concert. It's not a bad sounding bootleg of it, but it's one I'm glad to have in my record collection. But this album artwork is not from that show. It's not from Chicago. This is actually from 924 Gilman Street, which is the birthplace of West Coast punk music. I would love to be not only in this picture itself, but in that scene in the late 90s. I think it would have been an awesome place to be. So question 19 was another one that seemed pretty straightforward, pretty easy pick for me. So 19 it's like a greatest hits album. Show a record you're so familiar with that it feels like a greatest hits collection. I decided to go with the great self-titled album From the Living End, released back in 1998. This is actually the 25th anniversary pressing. It came with a live album also. It's got like a chrome cover to it. Really great album, really great punk album. One that late 90s punk music. Punk was really changing, and I think Blink was really kind of pushing things differently in the mainstream. And this is definitely a little more on the Blink side of punk music than, say, the Rancid and Bad Religion side of punk music, but it's a great album from beginning to end. There's not a bad track on here, and one that I absolutely love. And then last but not least, question number 20, show an album that was released in 1974. So albums that are celebrating their 50th anniversary this year. And I decided to go with one of my favorites from that year. That album is It's Only Rock and Roll by the Rolling Stones. This is a great follow-up to Goat's Head Soup, which is one of my favorite Rolling Stones albums. And this is one that I didn't really appreciate until a couple of years ago. I started to get more on the Rolling Stones probably 4 or 5 years back now. And that even like going through their 70s stuff, I was really unfamiliar with a lot of the stuff from that decade. I was always primarily a 60s fan of their music, but as far as their 70s stuff go, man, this is one that I put pretty close to the top. Well, that's all I got for you today, guys. Thanks for checking the show out. Like I said at the beginning, I always love doing these vinyl tag videos every year. They're always a lot of fun, going through, finding all these different albums, and then also seeing the albums that you guys put out in videos. It's just kind of a fun thing to do with the vinyl community. But let me know what you guys think. Make sure you drop me a comment down below. Like always, if you enjoyed the episode, make sure you give me a thumbs up. Hit that subscribe button down below. That's all I got. Until next time, keep on spinning. Peace.